Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is August 23rd, 2025, and Barcelona have completed their first comeback of the season, defeating Levante 2-3 after ending the first half 2-0. This is the post-match live analysis. Let's dive right into today's match because today's comeback was proof yet again that not only is this team building upon last season's success, but also that this team is building upon last season's resilience. As we've seen time and time again last season, this team is a team that continues to fight. This team is a team that doesn't give up. This team that overcomes difficulty, hardship. And while today was no different, Barcelona coming back from a 2-0 defeat in the first half to end up winning the match 2-3. And now this is 2 out of 2 victories, 6 out of 6 points. But let's dive right into the match because today we did have a lot of changes in the lineup. We saw once again Eric Garcia starting ahead of Jules Koundé. Seems that Koundé, they're saying, or at least the report's saying that Koundé might not be 100% physically speaking. Whatever the reason is, Eric Garcia once again starting ahead of Koundé. It looks like Pau Cubarsí and Araujo is the pairing, the center back pairing that Flick will be trying out for the beginning of the season. But that wasn't the change because that was the same kind of starting lineup, defensively speaking, as Mallorca. The change, of course, came in the midfield, where we saw Marc Casado is starting ahead of Frankie de Jong next to Pedri in the double pivot. And then, this is the even bigger change, is we saw Rafinha playing in the attacking midfield position with Marcus Rashford starting on the left wing. Of course, Lamine on the right wing, and then Ferran Torres as the center forward, because even though Robert Lewandowski was recovered and had received the green light, of course, as always, as a precaution, when a player comes back from injury, they usually don't start. Plus, I think what Flick wanted to do was have a little bit more mobility with his center forward. This is why he brought in Ferran Torres, because, he expected, of course, Levante to defend with a deep, compact block. Now, as far as a change with Rafinha and Marcus Rashford, I think it had to do with where Flick wanted to make the pitch wider by having Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford, trying to stretch the field to that way leave space for the midfielders and the other players to come through the interior corridors, including Rafinha, who does like to come in through the middle. So I think that's why he placed Rafinha right there in attacking midfield position, because he was expecting Lamine and Rashford to stretch out the field, and that would open the space for Rafinha to make those runs. Also for Rafinha to combine with Ferran Torres or with other midfielders that might be making runs from the second line, whether it be Pedri or maybe even Casado. Now, it looks like Levante did adapt immediately to this plan. Plus, it didn't help that Rashford is still adapting. Rashford, I don't think we've seen Rashford's best form yet with Barcelona. It looks like he's still a little timid, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So Rashford wasn't really doing what we are used to seeing him do back in his heyday at the Manchester. Plus, Levante executed really good tactical plan, especially defensively speaking. They were running a very organized, compact block of a line of 5 defenders, a line of 4 midfielders, and their number 9 kind of acted like a sweeper. Very organized, very compact, very focused. They all worked as one big cohesive unit, one big block that moved as the ball moved around the field. They did a really good job in stopping Barcelona's advances, and of course their counterattack were very, very lethal. Now, Barcelona did dominate the first half. I think they created a lot more chances, but again, with Levante's really good defending and with Barcelona's a little bit of bad luck too, they weren't able to convert any of their chances into goals, and then one lethal counterattack by Levante ended up in goal. Beautiful counterattack by Levante, by the way. The way they attacked from the left, they opened it to the right, from the right to the middle. Romero fakes Cubarsí, pretends he's going to go to the left, and then ends up going to the right, scores a goal. Nothing for Joan Garcia to do. And then the second counterattack, which is a result of a loss of ball by Lamine Yamal, ends up in a penalty kick, in a play that was actually saved by Balde, because I think it was I can't remember who was attacking. I think it was Levante. I think it was Morales. I mean, he was going head-to-head with Joan Garcia. Balde catches up to him, saves the ball, but the ball ends up... actually, no, it was I think it was Romero. Balde steals the ball. The ball ends up at the feet of Morales, who takes the shot. It hits Alejandro Balde in the arm, and then a penalty kick is awarded, which it was not a penalty kick whatsoever. If you watch the footage from every angle, slow motion, fast motion, pause it, don't pause it, it's clear as day. Alejandro Balde's arm is close to his body. That was not a handball. It's never a handball. And, not just that, but behind the ball is what? Behind the arm is what? Is the torso. So it's not like when your arm is extended, the ball hits it. If your arm is not there, the ball can go through and continue with its trajectory. Here, not only is the arm stuck to Balde's body, if the arm is not there, the torso is right behind it. So anyway, that ball was not going anywhere. That ball was going to bounce off Alejandro Balde. Not a penalty kick in a million years, but of course, it's Hernandez once again, showing the clown that he is. Remember, this is the same referee that during the Real Madrid match, Ferran Torres, in front of goal, wide open goal, takes a shot. What's his name? Tchouaméni's standing in front of him. Tchouaméni's arm is all the way out here. Ball hits Tchouaméni's arm, and Hernandez says that's not a penalty. But Alejandro Balde, who has his arm stuck to his body, close to his body, with his torso behind his arm, that is a penalty kick. That's the kind of mediocrity and that's the kind of incompetence that we have to deal with here in Liga. But I don't want to talk about the ref too much because at the end of the day, despite his stupidity, despite his mediocrity, despite being a useless piece of crap, Barcelona were still able to, pull the victory. Now, Hansi Flick's, I think, tactics during the first half did not work too well. Again, Marcus Rashford a little bit timid, not fully exploiting that left wing. Also, Balde's usually used to attacking on the outside, where Rafinha is attacking on the inside. This time it was inverted. Rashford attacking on the outside, while Balde attacking on the inside. Did not work too well with Balde. I don't think that's his strong suit. Rafinha in attacking midfield did not work too well either. So I think Barcelona, that's why they also struggled, aside from the fact that Levante had a really well-organized defense. Now, in the second half, I was not worried once a bit because I know Flick is the tactician that he is, that he was going to go back to the board, redraw things, move things, and that's exactly what Hansi Flick ended up doing. He took out Casado, who's more of a destroyer, more of a defensive midfield, puts in Gabi, who can give you more offensive punch in the midfield, takes out Rashford, moves Rafinha over to the left, and then puts in Dani Olmo as an attacking midfielder. Dani Olmo, of course, someone who can really operate in tight spaces, and that's exactly what Barcelona needed, someone who can operate in tight spaces, because, of course, Levante were not leaving any space for Barcelona players. And as far as on the left, now it worked much better because now we had Balde finally having the full flank to himself, can go deep, with Rafinha more coming from the middle. So that really helped stretch out the field more, which of course opened up spaces for shots from the outside of the box, which is exactly how Barcelona's first goal came. Pedri with an absolute banger from the outside the box for Barcelona's 2-1. And then a corner kick, perfectly placed corner kick by Rafinha, who puts the ball right where Ferran Torres is. All Ferran Torres has to do is stretch his leg, push it in, ends up being a 2-2. And then the change that of Gabi for Casado, I think that worked really well. That definitely breathed some life into the midfield, made the midfield a little bit more punchy, more offensive. And then when we thought that we had seen it all, Hansi Flick goes back to the drawing board and changes everything again, right? He takes out Alejandro Balde. Now Rafinha is covering the full left flank. 3 center backs in the back with Christensen, Kouarsi, and Jules Koundé, who comes in for Eric Garcia. And then he brings in Robert Lewandowski. And now we're playing with 2 strikers, which also helped Barcelona. We saw Barcelona start creating more chances because, now there were 2 strikers that Levante defenders had to keep track of. And that, of course, caused some confusion. That also caused for more spaces to open up because now all of a sudden you have, Ferran Torres, who's more mobile, who could come out of the box, drag defenders with him. But also you had Lewandowski, who would stay in the box, so then more defenders would have to come from the outside to track him, which left, of course, the wings more open for Lamine Yamal. And that's exactly how the third goal comes about, right? Lamine Yamal is able to float that ball into the box. The Levante defender is confused, doesn't know who exactly to mark, loses complete sight of the ball. He's so focused on Ferran Torres that loses track of the ball. The ball hits him on top of the head, goes in, and the match ends up being 2-3 with Barcelona pulling yet another comeback and Barcelona winning their second match of La Liga. 6 out of 6 points, very important victory. And of course, for that, I am very, very happy. Now, I do have to say, this thing now that I've kind of resumed the match and giving you my thoughts, I think uh, even though Araujo and Cubarsí have become the starting, looks like they've become the starting center back. I won't be surprised if down the road we start seeing a Cubarsí Christensen pairing. And I gotta say, and I say this because I don't think Araujo had a bad match. I don't think Araujo made any mistakes. I think Araujo had, a decent match. But you definitely see the difference of Christensen and Araujo under this system. When Araujo is playing, you see him a little bit not too confident in his decisions. And I think it has to do because, he has that pressure last season. He went from being the number one center back on the team, undisputed starter. Nobody could take his place all of a sudden to third, maybe even fourth in the pecking order. So I think he has that pressure. He's also, of course, has the pressure of learning this new system. Flick really relies on his center backs to build up from the back, something that Araujo really struggles with. So I think that's why he always doubts his decisions. He probably maybe is afraid when he's going to make a pass that maybe he ends up making the wrong pass, maybe ends up making a mistake. So you always see Araujo kind of not as confident as opposed to Christensen, because when Christensen came in, every decision that he made, you see him confident. You see him very assertive in his decision. So I won't be surprised again if it becomes Cubarsí Christensen. Again, not because Araujo had a bad match today. I just see Christensen much more comfortable in Hansi Flick's system. Besides that, that's all I wanted to say today. Again, Flick's tactics not working really well during the first half, but of course, Flick, being a tactician that he is, makes the changes, and then all of a sudden, the team starts working again. And of course, that's the difference between having, an elite coach as opposed to, an average coach, because the elite coach doesn't just set up the tactics, knows how to go back during the match to the drawing board, change things up, and if something wasn't working, you change it into something that does. Kudos to Levante, by the way. A really good tactical plan by Levante. The way they defended, very well organized. The way they counterattacked, very, very well by Levante. Excellent match by them. Very hard-fought match by Barcelona, who never, ever took their foot off the accelerator, who continued to fight until the last second, who showed once again resilience, a team that doesn't quit, a team that keeps fighting, a team that keeps pushing. And thanks to that, of course, we got our victory. So Levante 2, Barcelona 3. Great victory, 3 important points. Let's do a few comments, and then we'll end this. And then, of course, I will be doing a news video. Bars and More says, Assalamu alaikum, brother Mo. What's up, man? Wa alaikum assalam. Noob Master says, Mo, I believe that Rashford playing on the left wing and Rafa playing on the cam is not good. They can play together, but if Rafa plays on the wing, just my thoughts. Yeah, today it did not work. But it doesn't mean it won't work ever. Remember, this is beginning of the season. Rashford is just still adapted to the team. Rafinha is not really used to playing in that attacking midfield position. Maybe it could work down the road. Today, it definitely did not work. William Castro says, it's really nice. Flick brought out 2 pictures, one for last season against Madrid and today owing, and he wrote under, same referee, different decisions. Hernandez is a terrible referee. Absolutely. Again, the one with Tchouaméni, his arm is out here. That's not a penalty. Balde, his arm in front of his torso, that is a penalty. Hernandez is a mediocre, terrible referee. And honestly, I don't know how he still has his job. Eddie says, so far, the idea overhyped by fans to play Rashford left wing and Rafinha cam didn't work at all. Rashford is not much of a left winger, nor as a striker. Again, first time, I wouldn't say this is not going to work at all. People like to, always jump to conclusion based on not even one match, based on 45 minutes. That's not really how you make conclusions in football. Now, if Flick tries this out several times and every single time it doesn't work out, then we can say confidently, okay, yeah, this doesn't work. But based on 45 minutes to say this doesn't work, that's a little bit premature. Again, I'm agreeing today it did not work. Doesn't mean it's not going to work ever. RB says, remember the Clásico Rudiger handball? They didn't call it penalty because it was a very close shot. Why Balde hand was penalty? Was it the same situation? That's a great question. But again, Hernandez, you never know, right? This guy, he just makes shit up as he goes. And Chuchu says, yeah, there's a difference. And even Cubarsí is more free when Christensen is playing with him. Agree. And you know what? And this is something I noticed today that I didn't really mention during the post-match, during the watch-along, but it came to my head later. The reason why Puyol and Piqué worked so well, because when Piqué started, he was still young and inexperienced, or maybe not as experienced as you wanted, but Puyol was, much, much more experience. And the way it worked is because Puyol was that veteran leader, that experienced defender who helped bring out the best out of Piqué with his leadership, right? He would help guide him. He would help him feel more confident. Like, hey, I got you. If you mess up, I'm there to cover your back. And that's why it worked so well. And by the time Puyol had to retire, Piqué by then was a lot more experienced and he was able to stand on his own without the help of Puyol. And the reason why Cubarsí and Iñigo worked so well last season, I think because of that. Iñigo being that, much more experienced veteran defender, someone with leadership skills, I think he helped Cubarsí a lot by, using his experience to be like, all right, look, you're going to cover that. I'm going to cover this. You're going to stand here. Because even though Cubarsí is incredibly, incredibly talented, he's still inexperienced. He's still learning. And Iñigo was always there to help him out with that and bring the best out of him. Also, it probably made him a lot more comfortable to know, hey, I can go out there, and if I mess up, that's okay. I got Iñigo here covering my back. But I think with Araujo, because Araujo doesn't really exude that confidence. I mean, you see it when he's playing. He always looks like a little nervous, like he's not too sure about what he's doing. And if you exude that kind of, that kind of insecurity, you could see why Cubarsí maybe wouldn't feel as comfortable and be like, okay, I cannot mess up because there's nobody to cover my back. Right. So, and we saw when Christensen came on, Christensen was a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable in his position. And then all of a sudden we see Cubarsí improve because, of course, now he feels more comfortable. Now he feels like, okay, maybe I do have some room to make a mistake because Christensen is there to cover my back. So I think that's why we're seeing why Cubarsí and Araujo didn't really work out too well during the first half. But when Christensen came on, Cubarsí all of a sudden just started performing much better. Because remember, he's only 18 years old. He's still learning. He's still inexperienced. Regardless of how skilled he is going to need someone there to guide him at first. And then eventually, of course, he's going to be able to handle it on his own. And Sanjog with the generous donation says, after we equalized to 2-2, we slowed down again. The same thing happened against Inter in the first leg. Also, a rare Lamine shut down today. I don't think we slowed down. I don't think Barcelona slowed down at all. I think what happened after the 2-2, the game became a little bit more messy. And I don't mean Messi as Lionel Andres Messi, but Messi in the fact that there was a lot more stoppage. There was a lot more fouls, a lot more the referee blowing the whistle, a lot more acting on behalf of the Levante players. A lot more just, the Levante defenders would get the ball and just kick it as far as possible because now all of a sudden they were nervous, right? Now all of a sudden it's like, crap, we were up 2-0. Now we're 2-2. Barcelona coming at us with everything they got. They're going to be able to win this. So they became a lot more disruptive. So in being disruptive, the game, that also disrupts Barcelona's flow, right? Because when you're trying to build, when you're trying to flow, and then every 5 seconds the referee's blowing the whistle, or they're committing a foul against you, or Levante players on the floor pretending that like a sniper just took out his knee, that becomes a little bit more difficult to build. So I don't think Barcelona slowed down. I just think the game became a little bit more disruptive. Eventually, the game started to flow again, and Barcelona once again started to flow, and I think that's when the third goal came. But thank you for your donation, my friend. And, excuse me, Sternbergen Rua says, let us hope they will learn from today's match, but the second half was better. Yeah, I mean, I'm always, like Flake, I'm always an advocate of always learning from all the matches. And Jorge Cerda says, do you think he will get more confident as the season goes on? I'm guessing you're talking about Rashford. I think so. Again, remember, I think Rashford is under a lot of pressure right now. I think this is his last chance to prove himself. If this doesn't work out and he ends up going back to Man U, I think this is it for him as far as elite football. He's probably going to end up either in Saudi or some third-tier team or in Korea with his friend Lingard. So I think he feels that this is his last shot, and he wants, of course, do his best, impress. And I think that's why the nerves are probably getting the best of him. Plus, again, he's just joined. He's never played in La Liga. Not only is he getting used to his new teammates and to the new style of play, but he's also getting used to La Liga itself, right? Chuchu says Bernal is going to be ahead of Casado when he comes back. I think Bernal is going to be ahead of everybody when he comes back, except Pedri, of course. But I think Bernal, Pedri is going to be the future pairing, no doubt, because, Bernal is Bernal. Ibrahim says, thank you, Mo, for your good work. Love from Sierra Leone. Thank you, my friend, for your for your comment. And with that, let's end this. Those were my thoughts about the match. Let me know, what do you guys thought about today's match in that comment section. I will be doing a news video. I will be uploading a news video later tonight, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Biscar.